Sierra Oscar Foxtrot, this is 614. Status check on podcast. I'll copy over.
614, this is Sierra Oscar Foxtrot. Roger, copy all. Podcast going live. Time now.
Hello and welcome to another exciting, hopefully for you it's exciting, for me it's always exciting, episode of Sierra Oscar Foxtrot podcast. I am your host, Brian Stanfill, and I want you to know that I've done a survey, and yes, this is the most awesome podcast out there. So all 15 of you watching this, you can know you're in the right.
Do they have to hit that subscribe?
Yes, please. Because without you liking and subscribing, I'll never know you know.
There you go. That's where we get all our factoids from.
Exactly.
Right?
And here I am with the Honorable Floyd Guyton.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Honorable.
Questionable.
Now, Floyd, you're an awesome man, I think.
You know, I mean, some have said.
I gauge that.
Some have said. I mean,
I like you.
How do we gauge that? Hugs, smiles. I mean,
That's
we're
true.
getting them.
You're a very huggy person,
Right.
Which is good, Hugs, that's good. You wouldn't think, Green Beret here, handing out the hugs like it was candy.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing.
That is your thing, definitely. So, inquiring minds. So you come from Texas.
Corpus Christi, to be exact. Yes, sir. So, born and raised Corpus Christi, Texas. Graduated from high school. Didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Met my girlfriend, who became my wife. Had 3 children. I guess the civilian sector wasn't really doing it for me at the time, and not to mention, of course, with children, benefits and everything else. So, funny story, I originally wanted to join the Navy, right? Because coming out of Corpus Christi, NAS,
Okay.
very familiar with.
That's a coastal town.
It's
right?
a very coastal center, yep. Padre Island Beach. Oh. So that was kind of where my focus was. However, the issue was the going out to sea part. So my wife at the time didn't really want me to go out so often. And so I was like, well, let me go ahead and explore other options. Marines, absolutely not. Coast Guard, I was like, Navy's kind of, high-speed Navy.
Yeah.
But I finally settled on the Army. And so that's what I did. And in 1997, I joined the Army. Originally, MI. Went to basic at Fort Sill, and then went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, to become a ground surveillance systems operator.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty technical.
So it is. It sounds a lot more important than it really is, though, right? Just like all the Army jobs.
Yes.
So
The in-flight radar repairman.
No big deal, No big deal.
So where's the accent? Because I don't hear an accent.
Well, that's funny you asked that, right? Because I've kind of been here in North Carolina for more than half of my life. Coming out of Texas, first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky. There approximately 5 years, and then PCS to my final destination, which is Fort Bragg. And so I guess I just kind of lost it along the way, even though every now and again I'll throw in a yeehaw or a y'all, you know what I mean, just so you know where I'm from. But other than that,
Now, were you big into the boats growing up?
So not really, not at all. I mean, we were a family that hung out at the beach a lot, very, very comfortable in water, but nothing as far as boating or off-sea shore, that offshore fishing or whatever they call it. So, yeah. Boots on the ground, boots on the ground.
So you're like, high school's done, and I'm like, military. That's where you had your sector stakes, right?
That was it. Yeah.
No other options. Because I figured, I'm sure oil industry was big.
So it is. It really is. The one thing that I kind of wanted to do was I was looking for a career path. So prior to joining the military, or even really thinking about it, before kids and marriage and everything else, it was I was actually going to school to become a registered nurse, believe it or not. And so just before I was getting ready to apply to the nursing program, that's when kind of life happened. And so I think it was a great turn for events, just because, I love my children, of course, and, I love, the guys that I work with, and, ultimately where I ended up. So, no complaints here, man. No complaints here.
Awesome. All right. So, bam, military was. Now, I tell you, and I said it before, I wanted to go in the Air Force.
Okay.
And the Army was the first guys to call me. You're like, hey, we love your score. I'm like, yeah. I'll call you later. And I waited. And then finally, I'm like, what the hell? So I called the Air Force guy. I'm like, hey, man, I've been waiting for your call.
Right. Still waiting.
He's like, oh, yeah, you want to join the Air Force, huh? How old are you? And at the time, 17. Army was already beating on the door,
Sure.
He's like, come back next year. And I'm like, I'm going to the Army. That's what it was. That's how it went. And that was it for me. That's my story. But
Okay. So you're just a Fast and Furious. Hey, Air Force. This is what I'm gonna do.
Oh yeah. It's like from an early age riding bikes.
Okay.
Pretending, because I was back then. It was Iron Eagle. That was the movie.
Not with the old Chappie, right?
Yeah, Cabby. That was the movie. Man, my buddy and I, we're hauling balls down the road in our jets,
Yeah.
Oh man, but so that was my way in, and the pathway.
Gotcha. Awesome.
So you're in-flight radar repair guy, which is better than the missile repair guy.
Yeah. Because once it takes off, good luck trying to fix that. You know what I mean? Or
you got your 100-mile-an-hour
fixing it in the route, right?
What's that movie where the guy is like riding it in? He's like,
yeah. Nobody wants that job, right?
It's the last job you'll ever have. Comes with full benefits.
Right.
How long did you do that job?
Like I said, I was Fort Campbell was my first duty station. I was there for about 5 years, and then I got to Bragg, and I spent probably about 2 in the 82nd. So I would say altogether probably 7 or 8 years doing that before I decided. Actually, during the Clinton era, now I'm telling myself right my age. During the Clinton era, they started merging and getting rid of a lot of MOSs, and that was one of them because they had a more efficient way, I should say, of surveilling. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. And
Sorry, I looked that up in the dictionary. We need to make sure.
So they got, what's those, the drones and the predators and all those types of feeds. So that's what they ended up going to.
Okay.
So once I figured out I could either stay in or do that, or I was like, you know what, let me give this. I don't really know what SFAS stands for, but let me see what this is all. What's the hype, you know? So I decided to put in an application and then ended up getting selected.
Bam.
The rest was history, right?
There you go. See, I will say, I took the scenic route.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I went to Germany. I said, let's try this out here.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, let me do it again later.
Sure.
But so that's awesome. So first time go for you, sir.
So let me tell you, the scenery is really nice, right? Because originally when I first went, the first time I was at Campbell. I was a corporal. And made it all the way through, non-select. They were like, go back, get some more experience, We'd like to see you come back.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, I ended up re-enlisting, going airborne, I was trying to get my resume up. So there was a lot of things they couldn't tell me no for. And then whenever I got there, I was a staff sergeant with the airborne. I was a platoon sergeant at the time. So my leadership, my experience, my time, my skill set, everything kind of came in together, and that's when I ended up getting selected.
Okay,
So
that's what I'm talking about. We're right there.
I know the route you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it was the team in between the two team events. That's what got me.
Okay, got you.
They were like, of course, they were like, hurry up, and I tell you, it's a big. So I went in November, December '99.
Okay.
And then I went again in 2003.
Gotcha.
And I will say the mentality of the cadre were totally different.
Absolutely.
They were like, let's see how many can quit today. And they gave the evil laugh, They're like, you're doing your thing. And then okay, guys, look, I know land nav was tough, but you can't quit today. Give it a thought,
Right.
In 4 days, if you want to, you can, but don't quit. So it was crazy. I mean, of course, you had September 11th, and
sure.
a big push. Yeah. So no, there was definitely the mentality was different.
Sure.
You know, so what were the years you went? You went.
Okay, so the first time was 99.
Okay.
In 99, and then the second time was in 2004.
Okay.
2004. So it was a pretty big gap there.
Yeah, but I tell you, I mean, same first time, but we're just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Time,
Just,
so.
barely missed one another.
Definitely. Just think, we could have been friends earlier.
A lot earlier, you know what I mean? But hey, better late than never, right?
True that.
Better late
True
than
that.
never.
Well, you're in the 82nd. Where were we at there?
So I was at 313th in my battalion.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was another guy who came in with at the same time, and this guy was like the most handsome guy ever. Like, he walked, I can't remember his name, but he was over there 313th, 96 Bravo, I think is what he was. But we'd work out, like, because we went to 82nd replacement together.
Gotcha.
At the same
Okay.
time. So, I don't know. That's random. But I tell you, I mean, hanging out with this guy, and men and women alike, they're like, man, you're beautiful.
Yeah. And you know what?
And I'm like the extra side piece, just like, hey.
I'm the friend. Okay.
I'm just the friend.
We're the total package, okay? Yeah. Now, whenever you were going through selection, do you remember, because I remember you saying something about you could not quit, I think was the third or the fourth day you could
Yeah,
quit.
the second time around.
Second time around was the fourth. And then it seemed like everybody had their stuff together. They were motivated. They kept their eye on the prize. And no sooner do you get up for breakfast, the whole bay is empty. Like, everybody is gone and don't even know how it happened. And you went from like 6 bays to like 3 real quick. Do you remember that?
And we had, we used to have the camo hut.
Oh, where everybody would pack it up and go.
The shack of shame.
And nobody wanted to do the walk during the day.
My God.
They waited till everybody went to sleep, right?
And the first time,
I
we
totally
hung out
remember
there, the shack of shame, because, yes.
They were like, don't be talking to those guys.
At that point, you had, and everybody was passing around the book, 5 Years to Freedom from, Nick Rowe. And it was like 5 days to freedom, We were just like, this is already, devastating. Please get us out of here, please. Oh, great, it's a holiday. One more day. Oh, yeah. So that was life, like, the first time around,
And it was so crazy because, I mean, looking back on that, that moment, you would think, man, this is the hardest thing I've ever been to, right?
Yeah.
And 5 more phases ahead of that, and it only got harder.
Definitely.
And it only got harder. I was like, like you really had to want it, to get to the end. So it was nuts. It was fun. It was fun and nuts at the same time.
Oh yeah. And I had it's like, and throughout my career, there was always a long timer somewhere.
Sure.
There was.
Sure.
When I was in the reserves, I had a long time for a first sergeant.
It's nuts, right?
And this is the guy, like, he blindfolded us, and we had to sit there and feel for the tripwire. I mean, no shit. We would walk blindfolded, and do you feel the tripwire? Oh yeah, I feel it. There you go.
When I step on it, I'll let you know.
I was like, damn, high speed.
It was
Way
crazy.
to go, Top. You're awesome. I want to be just like you. And those
and
guys.
as long as they had that long tab, they had street cred, clout. I mean, you name it.
Exactly.
You wanted to be it.
Well, just like when I was mechanized, we had one guy who was Ranger tab.
Okay.
And everyone was like, oh.
Right.
We'd go out into the field over at Hohenfels, and they would let him take a group of guys and go off, Ranger Rickin' all over the place, killing targets and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, damn, I want to do that. Can we do it? And they're like, no, you are not allowed to exit this vehicle. You couldn't even sleep on the ground. You just slept there the whole time. Like,
Yeah. They
God.
just don't trust you enough.
No.
That tab.
They just didn't want people getting ran over.
For sure.
But of course, the tab protects you from that.
Let me tell you something. It's like that's why it's built the way it is. It's a bridge.
Exactly.
Everything goes over you, not on you. Right?
And that's why I was like, you know what? I want to get all those tabs, and then I'll be impervious.
You'll be it, right? The man.
So I did, and that's why I went back to 82nd, Sapper School, Ranger School in the same year, and then, after our first Afghan trip.
And then you learn rather quickly, right? The more squared away, or the more you appear to be squared away, the more responsibility, right?
Of course.
The more responsibility. And it's like, I don't know how to do this stuff. You're the Ranger. Figure it out, right?
Well, I'll tell you, so taking the scenic route, go with their SUTs. I was like middle of the rung Ranger Tab guy, where you had 2 senior guys Ranger Tab, and then a guy who recycled. So all these guys knew what they were doing.
Sure.
Man, did I catch shit. I'm like, what the hell? You want me to correct these guys?
Like, kind of between a rock and a hard place.
I know. What do you
between a
want from
ranger
me?
and a hard place, right?
I'm just following orders. Yes, Sergeant. Go out and do things. It was a learning experience, definitely. And it's good. Good on me,
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's interesting, right? As you progress in your career, how sometimes whenever you stop and you kind of look back, or someone out there, the Little E5 with the Ranger Tab, or the squad leader or whatever, and you just kind of reminisce a little bit and like, bro, I know exactly what you're going through, man. Believe it or not, I know what you're going through,
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, was I that dumb? Of course I was, yes. Of course
of course not.
Of course I was.
Man, when I was your age.
Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so whenever those senior leaders were, looking at you, and it was just kind of like, just collect yourself, just relax and collect yourself, and you're just like, I just want to do a great job, Sergeant. I just want to be the best that I can be. I just want to be the best rifleman. If that's what I need to be, that's what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And then, like, you don't realize as the experience, it helps you, groom and mentor the younger guys. And so, I'm pretty sure we've seen all the different leadership types. I'm a bit of a hugger. I've always been the hugger. I see the little fella on the sideline. Come here, man. Come here. I'll take you. I'll take you under. Old Floyd Guyton will take you under the wing. And so, I mean, that technique has really helped me, throughout my career. Just because it's like treat others as you want to be treated, or whenever you're with that one leader that just drills you, you're like, that's not going to be me, because. As we know, we learn from everybody, the good, bad, and the ugly, and we develop our own leadership, style accordingly, and it's a pretty interesting ride, and I've been pretty blessed along the way that I've had great guys that I worked with, worked for, and so I was pretty blessed with my leadership style, with just being around smart guys and hardworking guys most of my career, so interesting.
So how many trips to Afghanistan did you do? Because that's all we did. That's all I did.
Right. Well, as soon as it seemed like as soon as you left the Q course, not counting, the conventional side, I did 1 year in Iraq with the MI battalion. Once I got to SF, 3rd Group 5, because I think I got to ODA 316, back then it was only 3 numbers.
Yeah.
And no sooner than they told us, right? They told us in the Q Corps, be prepared, don't unpack your stuff because you're getting ready to go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Sure as sin. Got to 316, and a month later we were gone.
Yeah.
We left, and it was a 6-month on, 6-month off until eventually it slowed itself down. Which I don't think it slowed down, but I think more people got involved, because I think at the time it was 5th Group, and then 3rd started to help 5th.
We were doing high fives with 7th Group.
And then 7th Group was getting involved. 1st Group, later down the road came on in, that I've seen while I was doing it, left seat, right. But, so I don't think it really slowed down. It just, like I said, more people got involved, so. And it was interesting, it was really interesting to see, because it was always a 7th, 3rd, 7th, 3rd, 7th, 3rd. And so just to see how other different groups operate and being able to, get as much information and, experience from those guys as well, kind of seeing how our counterparts work.
Yes.
In other regions. So
yes.
It's interesting, you know what I mean?
It is, yes.
It's a...
Yeah, now, like in my experience, so we had 2 7th Group guys that replaced us at Gecko.
Okay.
Because we went there 06, or 05, 06, and then 06, 07. So we'd be like, high five, and we're like, all right, there you go, everything's awesome. They're like, yeah, that's awesome, yeah. And then we come back and we're like, high five?
Yeah.
They're like,
right. Smiles in, smiles out, frowns in.
All right, yeah.
Yes. And it's like, and it was cool too, even though they did a really good job at putting us right back where we were at, just because familiarization. But I also like the fact that they kind of, towards the end, started, because I think we were A Camp Lane for my first trip. Right, when I was 1-6. And interesting, right? It was just so different.
I tell you, I think like because when were you there? 05, 06 or 06, 07?
06, 07.
06, 07. Tell me that wasn't awesome. I enjoyed that time.
So I think the earlier in the war was the best.
Yes.
Was absolutely the best. And I mean, now if you go back, everything's so established. It's almost, what do they call it, Bragistan now, because it's so established. But it was just raw. The fight was raw. The areas were raw. Everything was very raw. And I think that's where we really made an influence and affected, because we were the pioneers. Like we were just going, and so it was really cool to see that build up. And
now, one of the previous ones, I did a podcast with General Bulldog.
Okay, all right.
Was our battalion.
Yeah.
And I paid him homage. I said,
Desert Eagle 6, huh?
I said, if it wasn't for you allowing us to just be that bottom-driven guy, to go out there, and that's what made it great. It was hey, we're off to kill bad people. Bye,
Yes.
And they're like, have fun storming the castle, you know. And
let us know when you get there. Let us know when you get back.
To a point where it was, hey, bad guys just drove past, so we killed them. And they're like, tell me you didn't go out of the wire. And I'm like, what? They came toward us, you know, and we just met them.
We're just out checking the mail.
We were at the end of the yard. We never crossed into the street.
Checking the mail, no big deal. Mailbox is about a mile down the road.
That's so I would say the negative aspects of an ongoing war, I guess you could say, was just the advancement of technology.
I would agree.
Everything, once the emails, and you can't do anything without a con-op that's 20 slides long.
And I mean, as well as I do, the whole communication piece in itself went from the ODAs at the FOB directly to our battalions or whoever we fell under. With technology, it went all the way up to the 2-star. So everybody was involved. Everybody had eyes on. Everybody had really a say-so. And so it took the ability for the ODA to tactically, move about, if you will.
Yes.
And so I'm absolutely, and it's crazy you say that, because every trip it felt like you had a boa constrictor on you. Every trip, it just got tighter and tighter and tighter before you were like, there's really no good reason other than the money's great, right? Because we make so much more money when we deploy. Yeah. The possibility of maybe, fighting the war on terrorism.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's what Green Berets want to do. It's soft community. I mean, nobody joins it to kind of sit around and break glass in case of emergency. Like if we're in an area, we want to work. We want to affect. We want to do great things for those around us. And
that was one of the things that I felt was a disservice to the people we were with helping. It's like, all right, guys, we're waiting for approval, but you guys go on, And granted, there's a certain point that, they should be able to run these things on their own.
You would think, right?
But at the same time, it's nice to go with them,
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. And they're almost like kids, right? Not that they are, because they're grown adults. However, we were their confidence. Yes. We could even offset, and as long as they knew we were in the area, they knew we had assets, they knew we had everything. We had their back, right? We had their back, so they were even more eager to get out there and do their job for their country. And but they are kind of like kids, because like you train them, you eat with them, you sleep with them, you get to know them, right? Because we are a partner force. Yep. And it's almost like watching your kids grow. Like, man, you're so proud of them, right? Like all your hard work. And
we get to a point, it's like, hey, look, I know, like when we started off, and they were still in the Kandax, and you're like, how many people are going to get shot? Because know, it's like, and then you get to the point where now it's like, they're fully fledged, operationally ready to go do awesome things. And look what we did,
Absolutely, yeah. Because in the beginning they're dressing the part, but they're not ready to fulfill the part.
Yeah, and there was so much other crap going on too that nobody had a formal system yet.
Sure.
Everything was in the making.
Sure. Absolutely.
But so I don't know. So you were at Lane. Where'd you go to after that?
So Lane, then we went over to, so my last 4 trips were with the 3rd Commando Kandak.
Okay.
At Camp Simmons, right outside of CAF.
Yeah.
CAF? Bath.
Well, Bass up.
Bagram Airfield.
Yeah.
Bagram Airfield.
So, what was that like? Because I've done some things with the Commandos. You know, they come out into our area, and
yeah.
so being that guy with the Commandos,
it was definitely a 180, right? Because everybody initially were gacking, right? We were doing the ground,
yeah,
convoys, and so from the first trip going out for 3-4 days fighting bad guys and coming back, refit, reorganize, and doing it for 6 months, that was awesome. Loved it, right?
Yep.
But doing the Kandak mission, man, that was, you had air, you had assets, you had, this was gonna be their special forces, if you will. So everybody was kind of really, investing in this little organization. And I believe there was 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, because they did a red,
I believe there was 3 of them.
green type
And
cycle.
so, yeah, man, it was awesome. And they were quick, you know what I mean? You get in the helicopter, get out there, do your business, 24, 48 hours, come back, get ready for the next one. It was just and I loved the pace, because before you knew it, 6 months was up and you're out of here, you know? And it was just always exciting, it was always exciting, just because anything can, whether it's weather or mechanical issues or whatever, you know what I mean? So you just kind of have to stay on your toes at all times. And because of the numbers and the ability, because we had to kind of train them up to get in and out of the aircraft safely and make sure they had the proper equipment and all that other stuff, it's like you couldn't afford to get complacent, you know what I mean, especially at night, because everything was happening at night too. So it just really kept you on your toes, you know what I mean? That men, weapons, and equipment was a son of a gun, if it just. But like you said, we figured out a method, we started to refine it, and then before you know it, it became an SOP, right? Just like anything else.
Exactly.
So it was really awesome. It was an awesome experience.
So when what was it like, though, the transition between you're on and then you're off?
Oh man, I tell you what, my team sergeant Billy Lar was a genius, right? He was an absolute genius, and the way that he did our schedule we were able to transition quickly, because once the mission was done, we already knew what we were getting ready to do for the next 6, 12, whatever, out. We'd get back, we'd all come in, grab something to eat, get ready for the AAR before everybody, while it was still fresh, and getting our reports in. And then we wouldn't do anything the next day. You get the whole next day off, right? And so you're washing your clothes, you're cleaning your weapons, you're getting your go bags together, you're doing all these other things. So you were able to kind of get your mind off of things. You weren't, because it seemed like life was rushed. Everybody wanted to see products, everybody wanted to see action, everybody.
Yeah.
And as well as I do, even the best of the best gets worn out, So he did a real good job with that top cover and setting a precedence and setting a timeline that was absolutely feasible for 6 months. And I think that's kind of what helped maintain our sanity, you know, if you will, because it was nonstop, it was absolutely nonstop. And the more missions that, just like we get smarter, they get smarter, so preparatory fires had to come into play, they were things on the infill and exfill and everything in between. So they got smarter, we had to get smarter, so it was always very ongoing, ongoing all the time.
Well, let's take a second here to talk about things that are currently near and dear to our hearts, and that's our charities, because we love the charities.
Absolutely.
Mine, Veteran Harbor. We are a 15501c. Is that right? No, not the 501c3. 15501 is actually a very major thoroughfare.
15501.
15501. Yes, drive on down to Veteran Harbor. Take 15501 to the C3. You'll be there. But Veteran Harbor is an organization that is designed to help veterans in need, and we help by helping other nonprofit organizations, getting on their feet, getting them established in any way possible. You know, if it's fundraising, if it's they want to build a community or they want to build something to help project themselves a little bit better, a little bit stronger, that's what we're here for. Aside from that, you know, we have Ramps for Warriors, and we have right now our current main focus is the Robert Lee Project. We have bought the property in which Mr. Lee lives on, and we're turning it into the very first Veteran Harbor house, where he is the custodian for the rest of his life. It's on the record. See, I said it in video, which he knew that anyway. You know, but he's going to be there for the rest of his days as long as he wants to be, and he'll be the caretaker of the property. It was a way to kind of memorialize, because in his life he had a lot of loss: wife, kids, mother, everybody. So this way is near and dear, you know, the property, the house that he grew up in a little bit. It was important to give him that back, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And in turn, he's helping us by giving this place to help other veterans in need. This is working in conjunction with the Harnett County Veterans Treatment Court, where guys will come and be able to have this safe space for transitory status while they do programs. And that's it. So if you want to help out, go to the website right there. Also, we are doing a big fundraiser June 4th with golf, a golfing fundraiser. So if you're into whacking that white ball around, if you want to, we will provide as many white balls as you want, and the stick to whack it with. Come on down, you know. This is June 4th. Your registration ends May 27th. You can find that registration online at the Veteran Harbor website. So I hope to see you there. It's going to be fun. A lot of fun. What about you? You like whacking white balls?
This, as much as I'd like to jump on this one, I'm not.
What? No.
So
I served that ball up on a platter.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's really awesome. You know, and I've been fortunate enough, you know, especially like a bunch of guys like ourselves. It's really nice to see you guys, you know, get involved and, you know, kind of remember, right? Remember and awareness. You know, there's a lot of, you know, awareness out there. Yeah. Chief Reese, CW2, William Reese, is one of the founders of APK, and that was for Captain Peterson Kill, who was on ODA 3126, and to raise awareness, you know, and the interesting thing is, like, they do it annually, and so every year it's a different theme, you know, depending on where soldiers are at, where the numbers are at. That's kind of what they focus on, just so people can be aware of, you know, all these great men who are doing great things for our country. You know, they are human. You know, we all find ourselves, you know, not so 100% sometimes, and so it's great to see that guys understand that or have been through that themselves and can absolutely, you know, take care of our own. You know what I mean, and those around us. You know, and not necessarily the Rangers or SF or, you know, all these other guys, but just soldiers in general. You know, and it's an awesome thing that you guys are doing, and, you know, God bless you. You know what I mean? God bless you.
I know you're part of the support system too. You got your
I do have my
R shirt
R to
on.
R. You know, we did that last year. I was very, very honored to participate in that.
And what is that? What does that stand for?
So R to R stands for Ruck To Remember.
Okay.
You know, so, and like I said, it was revolved around Captain Peterson Kill, and you start out in Connecticut, his hometown where he went to school, and you do a ruck from Connecticut all the way into Arlington. And so
during the summer?
During the summer.
Okay. Couldn't do it during the winter.
Oh, let me tell you something. I've never been up north, right? That far north.
Even in the summer, it's got to be cold.
Oh, but the weather when we went, it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was because I mean you're moving, you got your ruck running, you know, and so no sooner do you stop, jump in the vehicle, turn the heat on, you know, because you're sweating, you know.
Okay.
But it was a great experience. It was a great time. Got to meet the parents. You know, they're super, super awesome folks. His community was great. Everybody was great, and folks were coming from far and wide. You know, I mean, I'm sure you can relate that. A lot of these charities, like everybody wants to be involved, and if they can't be there physically, virtually, or even financially, you know, they support, you know, the cause, and it's just an amazing turnout. You know, how many individuals who are either veterans or veteran supporters that, I mean, really acknowledge, you know, great people for great things.
Yeah. What do they got coming up? Anything?
So it should have been coming up here this March, but Chief Reese is PCSing, and so they may have to bump it. You know, push right. Is that right? Push the timeline right, but it will happen, and so.
He's going to Swick?
I will definitely no. He's going to DC. He's in the big leagues. He's in the big leagues now, so he's doing great things.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be missing him at third group, and it's great to see him, you know, grow and be diverse and, you know, get something a little bit different.
And he's tall as it is. So
I mean,
don't grow too much.
Yeah. What is he, 6'5", 6'6"?
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a giant.
What's going on there, Chief?
So yeah, he's great. He's great.
All the time away, all the trips gone.
Okay.
Coming home from these trips. What was that like? That because that's truly a transition right there.
Well, yeah, right.
I mean, I went from I remember distinctly like 2012. Came back, the wife came and she drove and she picked me up, and so she was driving, and I just remember I'm like, huh. Why are you going so fast? And she's like going 40. And I'm like, yeah. For the last 10 months, we were going 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a funny instance, because it's funny, but, you know.
Sure.
There's a huge transition.
Yeah.
You spend all this time away, and then, bam, you're back.
So, I will say, I'm a bit of a prankster, right? I'm a bit of a prankster.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have 4 children, right? Christopher, Brandon, Savannah, and Dylan. And of course I would just embellish the truth, you know, like when we're coming back from SEER school, they're like, no loud noises, no this, no that. So I'm just like, you know, I get real extra. And so but coming back, you know, I think most guys like us are wired that way. So once you say your goodbyes, you get on the bird, you switch it on, and it's all business.
Oh, yeah.
And on your way back, you switch it off, come back, hugs, jump in the car, get ready. Like nothing ever happened, right? But it takes a little bit of time to get used to doing that. And so I would say that my first trip was nothing like I've ever been through in my life. And so whenever I got home, of course, they're like, well, you can talk about this, but you can't talk about this, and you know, you can do this and do that. And what's the first question that these kids ask you?
Did you kill anybody?
That's the first question that they ask you. Of course. It's like, oh my God. And of course, mom's like, don't ask, I told you. Like, she almost backbriefed them, like, don't be asking him that. Don't be going through his stuff. You know, we don't know what mental state he's in. You know, I'm hungry and I'm crazy. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But no, man, it was so funny. And I'm just like, ha, ha, ha. And of course, we're kind of quick on our feet, right? So you just say, oh, well, no, you know, Dad works in the ops end, and I connect computers from one computer to the next. And, you know, sometimes people need me to do this, you know. So you've got your little backstory, you know, together. And they're like, well, I don't know, Dad. I was like, I mean, some guys do that, you know, but me, no, I'm usually on the safer side of, you know, the war. And so
I'll be honest. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I did.
Rambo got shit on me.
I can't tell you how many. We didn't go to do the BDA. But there was smoke coming out of that collide. I got no problems. I'll tell you anything.
and I tell you what, because the transition goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
So like these poor little kids and their little beady eyes, they're just kind of just looking at me, and I'm like, kids are never that quiet. What's going on? They're waiting for this boom. Right? It's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, yeah, I know y'all haven't been acting like this for 6 months, right? But yeah, it was a weird transition back and forth because we're always gone, right? We're always gone, and whenever we come back, we're training for the next, going to a train up, going to a school, getting promoted, going to another NCUA school. So, personally, I felt like I was getting more and more distant because 6 months is a long time whether you realize it or not. Mm-hmm. And then you've got this little baby learning to crawl. You come back, they're in track and field sprinting. Yeah. One was missing teeth, the other one's wearing I mean, it's that fast how the transition is, and it's just like you realize how much you really miss and how much you don't know. And so I felt like my Bermuda Triangle was working out, and the kids, because when I'm home, and I wanted to devote all my time to them, and I felt like I was always behind trying to catch up, and I never caught up.
Yes.
And so they got used to it as well, as far as, well, we're not going to invest too much because Dad's never here, he's not a constant. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the most disheartening part of it all, just because you sit back and you have conversations now. Like I said, my kids are grown and all 4 of them are in the military now, and so they get it now, but they didn't get it then.
Yes.
And trying to help them understand, it was the most difficult part of it all, because you could see it in their eyes. They're just like, we just want you here. Yeah. Like, I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear all the great things you've been doing. We just want you here. And so, yeah, I would say the transition was definitely hard for everybody, and I could only imagine in the past, because my wife and I are no longer together, right? Divorce. It was very hard on the family. It was very hard on everybody. And even though you try to justify, like, the benefits are great, the organization takes care of families, promotions are quick, bonuses are big, all they want is you. But you can't be at 2 places one time. And for me, we were a 1-income family, so I was able to have my wife at home raising the children, being 24/7 in support of my career. And that gets old for her too, you know what I mean? And she managed to get a degree in criminal justice, and wasn't able to use it because with the more kids, the more problems, right? More money, more problems. So she was always tied in different areas and directions, and that starts to build resentment, like, while I'm out, doing great things and coming back and everybody's proud of you and the pats on the back, like, where's their pat on the back? Yeah. And so that's kind of what started to drive the wedge between us. And you can buy the biggest diamond, the shiniest car, it don't matter, because all they want is you. Mm-hmm. And so it took its toll, and before you knew it, kids are grown and we're apart, and now we're doing our thing, that's just kind of what it is.
The one thing I noticed, and probably the kids, is just the fuse.
Sure.
It gets, it seems like every trip a little bit shorter,
Sure.
To where, I shit you, so no shit, there I was. Who was with me during that? The wife, Troy, and Ty, I think.
Uh-oh.
We were at PetSmart. But, so, no shit, there we were. This is like day 2 of getting back from a trip. Mm. And it's probably the longest one. And we're in the checkout aisle of PetSmart, and I get this red beam of light right through my eyeball. Mm. And I look around, and this little black kid, he's like... he's got the little laser guy, and he's like... And it just... you talk about a switch.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that. I said, I will kill you. And then I started walking towards him. And my wife was like, and I had to go like from 100 back down with each step as I got closer to the kid.
Right. I'm in America.
Until finally I get over there, and I was like, hey, do you know what your kid's doing here? He just shined that shit right in my eyeball. I was so
yeah.
Just, like, red instantly, and not because of the laser. The laser got me to the red. But yeah, that was a big thing. And you're used to all this time. You're like, hey, we got to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. All right. And you expect things to get done.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't always work with the kids.
You're right? Because we end up running our household like squads, or platoons,
exactly,
right? Because it works, you know. And as the older they get, the more responsibility and the less time you have to dilly dally, right? It's like, what did it?
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, I didn't train you, huh? Is that what you're telling me? To the garage, to the whiteboard.
Yeah.
So it's horrible, right, for them, you know, especially being, you know, military.
Here we are, the overbearing military fathers, and trying to teach the discipline.
And what do you get? Just backlash.
Yes.
Everything is backlash.
Yes.
This is not your soldier. You can't be talking to him like that. And it's like, I understand.
Yeah, we're like, what? We're not talking to him like a soldier. Are you kidding? I'd be cussing 5 times more.
Right. It's like, dude,
look, the knife edge hand would be like this.
It's a coming. So, yeah, it's funny, yeah. And I would give myself 72 hours, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't talk about school. I wouldn't talk about all the bad things they did. I wouldn't talk about anything. I just kind of absorbed the household, kind of figured out how things operated. Let my wife tell me what to do so I didn't disrupt her you know, routines.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, I mean, you can jump in at any point now. And it's like, oh, but you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? It's like, well, okay, not a problem. Hey, I need you to do this. That's snack time. I don't know why you're telling us to do this. It's like,
exactly.
How am I supposed to know this? You've got it up here. I need it written down to put it on the board, you know?
Schedule?
And so it was like,
give me the training schedule.
When's the next deployment? Because I ain't going to make it here. I'm just disrupting everybody's life, right? So, yeah. And try to come up with some little anecdotes to try to be their dad, not be a pain in the ass, but at the same time, in our line of work, you know, nothing's guaranteed, right? So I spent a lot of time trying to teach them a lot of things to be successful human beings in society, you know, and you're trying to cram a year in 5 minutes, and poor kids are just like, why? I just want to go play. And it's change the tire. I want to know if you want a driver's license. I need to know you can drive, you know, just do simple tasks so you're good. You know, I get a phone call over there like something happened, your kid, you know, it's like, oh, heaven forbid, you know. So,
because I'll say this, long gone are the days where it's like, hey, just go outside.
Right?
I don't care what you do, just go outside. Come back at sunset.
Yes, you know. I
tried that with the kids. My wife wouldn't have it. She's like, oh my God,
this day
there's some lurker out there. Go and steal them. Right. I'm like, come on, seriously.
And I'll tell you what, you really want to get them riled up? Turn that power off, right? The game systems, everything. Oh my God, they'll. It's called a coup, right? They will come at you. You're the most hated person in the house.
Oh, yeah.
But all you want them to do is just sit on the front porch, back porch, garage, get some fresh air.
I bought 26 acres. I want them to hang out in 26 acres.
It's like, here, throw this. What is that? It's a football, for crying out loud. Are you kidding me? So, yeah. And that's another thing we got to learn, right? To kind of evolve, because our world is always the same.
Yes.
You know, we've got our SOPs, and if we're going into a house, this is what we're doing. If we're going into a, you know, but it's always the same.
Yes.
If you go into your own house, it's like nothing is the same.
No. So we go from Generation X, right? Because that's what we are. Yeah, Generation X. Trying to deal with Generation Z. I'm going to say yes, yeah.
I'm like, I don't get them.
But yeah, so we got the generational gap, and then we have our hardcore Army awesomeness training, and, you know, between how we were raised and how we were brought up and then how we were developed and trained, we try to implement these things to the younger generations.
Sure.
And it gets lost. And then there's feelings hurt and cries.
And then Mama Bear comes out.
Oh, yes.
In full force.
Yes.
In full force. It's like, who is this woman? I am your wife. Are you? Because I don't recognize anything. I was like, what happened? I was like, holy crap. So, yeah, man, it's interesting.
And it might be just one of those things that no matter how, because I would say over the years that the military system, at least on our levels even, did try and have tried and maybe continue to improve upon those little mechanisms, you know. We used to, I remember first 2 trips, you know, we come back and there's like this big, ta-da, they're here, you
Right,
know.
yeah.
To the next one is like, all right, guys, hurry up, get the fuck out of here. You know? There's no nothing, you know. Get on the bus, let's go. You know?
Yeah.
Hi, baby.
It's like, man,
I haven't seen you for a long time, but I
call you when we're 100% in the arms.
exactly, yes. It'll be about 2 a.m. Don't worry about it.
Just turn and burn. Let's go. Don't turn it off.
So you get to that, you know, but then you're in, you know, now they have people to talk to, like, hey, you know,
Sure.
how are you feeling about this, you know? And I guess the downside is there's still the negative connotation with the mental health aspect.
Sure.
And we're smart people, so we know the answers to give, whether we feel it or not.
Absolutely, right?
You know, so
Because just
they
like
can only go so far, but it's really us too, you know.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. You know, because, I mean, everybody's gaming the system, right?
Exactly.
No matter what system it is, everybody's gaming it because
yeah,
we want to work.
What moves me next? You
That's
know,
it.
Get
That's
on to
it.
the next spot. So you've been out for how long?
So I've been out for about 6 years now.
6 years.
About 6 years, yeah.
All right. So we're competing there because I got in 17.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. Yeah, you get in around the same time, you're gonna get out. Around
Absolutely,
the same
right?
time.
Our generation, right?
Our generation.
Our-
Yes. But so what are you doing now?
So now, you know, I think after being in the military for over 20, I didn't really want to work for anybody, you know, so I kind of got into the home improvement side of the house, you know. And the main reason for that is I want to buy property, I want to kind of expand, you know, want rentals, and, you know,
Yeah.
if I possess the skill set and the licenses, then I can take out the middleman. So that's kind of the route that I wanted to do, set my own timeline, set my own schedule, you know, I can kind of, the flexibility is what I wanted since we were so rigid, you know, everything was so rigid, the timeline was rigid, and it's like, I didn't want to live like that anymore, so I was not in a hurry to start a second career, if you will. It was more of a goal,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, one construction guy to the other.
Right.
Yeah. So are you seeing much success in that?
So I am, actually.
Awesome.
It's a very lucrative business out there. And once again, it's a lost skill, right? You know,
Yeah.
because we've got these smart kids that are technically, you know, able, and nobody's swinging the hammer. So there's plenty of work out there for, you know, the blue-collar worker, for sure.
Definitely,
And I love it. I love the people. I love what I do. And, yeah, man, I just get after it.
All right. So you gonna come golfing?
God.
You gonna come golfing in June?
Listen, I mean, if we're hitting little white balls, I'm all in.
Yes.
All in.
We got it. Yes. Well, dude, that's awesome, and I'm very grateful you came and hung out with me, and we got to do some bullshit, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while, you know what I mean? And I love the fact that we stay in contact, and you're doing this for, you know.
Why? I don't know. Either. Honestly, I don't. You know, and I tell you, so you get out, and maybe it's because we were so go.
Yeah.
I don't know how to stop that. So what do? I get out, start companies.
Yeah.
Do this, jump on that.
I mean, you're a hard fella to catch up with. I mean, if you're not working, you're golfing and chasing a white ball. I'm chasing you. You know, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Head him off. Bird dogging Frankie.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. So it's a drive, and I think internally, I mean, we have that drive.
Sure.
You know, and hopefully we've instilled that into our offspring.
Sure, absolutely.
Drive to succeed, drive to, you know, the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, and that's it. And I mean, sweat doesn't guarantee success, but without it, you don't have a chance, right?
Exactly.
And so, hard work is always going to have to be there. You know?
True that.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it up. That's about it for this
Hey,
one, huh?
let me tell you something, Brian. I appreciate you having me.
No problem.
And I'm happy to do it for you, man.
Awesome. Well, once again, this is the Sierra Oscar Foxtrot podcast. I am your host, Brian Stanfill, but you knew that from the beginning. Unless you skipped all that shit, and now you're at the end. Yeah. Which is cool, because it gives me a view. Yeah, a like, follow, subscribe, do all that awesome stuff. But, you know, with me once again, Floyd Guyton.
Thank you for having me.
And all his awesomeness. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please like and follow so you can stay in the know for the next one.